Hello, everyone. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Rich. Rich is from Los Angeles in California in the USA. So let's see what Rich has to say. Enjoy the interview. Hello.
Hi there. How are you doing?
Hello, Richard. I'm very well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well as well.
Thank you so much for taking the time today for the interview. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I still am a little perplexed as to why I would be interesting, but I will defer to you. So thank you.
Should I call you Rich or Richard?
Rich is good.
Rich? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me, how's your morning going so far? Your
Uh,
day?
we're into afternoon now here, but it's been going well. I got up, I went to the gym, I ran some errands, and then did a little bit of work, and now I'm here chatting with you.
Amazing. So tell me, where are you from, Rich?
Originally, I'm from Philadelphia on the east coast of the U.S., but I've been living in LA right now. I've been living in LA, gosh, for pretty much my entire adult life. After I graduated from school, I moved out here, so I've been out here now. Let me do the math. 20, almost 28 years.
Wow. And all your family are back in Philadelphia?
They're back on the East Coast. They're in just outside of Philadelphia, New Jersey, and Miami.
I see. You know what? When I was checking your profile, there was a phrase there that got my attention. I think now it makes sense for me. It says there, Los Angeles with a little Philadelphia and Salt Lake City thrown in.
Yep, yep. Yeah, because I'm from Philadelphia, and that's where I grew up, and that kind of molded me. And then about 6 years ago, I worked and lived in Salt Lake City for 4 years. So had a little bit of time there as well.
I see. And what's the best part of living in Los Angeles?
The weather. I mean, it can't be beat. It's year round. It's sunny. We don't have any humidity really. It doesn't really rain all that much. So I remember when I was living in, I had a job one summer in New York, and I remember, you know, sitting in the office, and it was a beautiful day outside, and looking outside at how beautiful it was, and thinking to myself, why did it have to be today when I'm at work? Why couldn't it be on the weekend? Because you were always worrying, like, was the weekend going to be good weather? Was it going to be too hot? Was it going to be humid? Was it going to rain? And here you never have to worry about that. So even if you're sitting in the office on a Thursday looking outside and it's a beautiful day, you know that it's going to be the same weather on Saturday and Sunday too. So
Okay. I had a few guests on the show from Los Angeles, and they said the same thing as well.
it's true. I mean, it's why a lot of people move here, I think.
And what do you do for work, for a living?
Well, I was trained as a lawyer, and up until about a year ago, I was the head lawyer or general counsel for a U.S. construction company. But we sold ourselves to a private equity fund, and so I was able to basically last year retire early. So I don't have a full-time job anymore. I'm basically enjoying early retirement. But I do teach mergers and acquisitions and business associations at the University of Southern California Law School on kind of a part-time basis. So that keeps me busy. And then I also sit on the board of some nonprofit organizations as well.
I see. Wow, amazing. So through the journey, I'm going to explore a little bit more about your career, about your life overall, okay?
Okay.
Rich, before we start our journey within the Magic Box, I would like you to tell me something interesting about yourself.
Something interesting about myself. I think that I love to travel, and I think that that's pretty common amongst a lot of people. So I don't know how interesting that is, but I'm very, very comfortable traveling by myself. Being retired, my spouse is not retired. My friends are not retired, so I don't really have a ton of people that can just take off and travel on their own or travel with me a moment's notice. And so, one of the things that I think, I guess, is interesting is that I can do it all by myself. I'm completely fine going somewhere and doing stuff by myself. And I wouldn't have thought that that was that interesting, but I remember once when I was having lunch with this woman that I worked with back when I worked at Disney. And I was talking about how I had gone to this great restaurant when I was traveling for work. And she said, "Well, who did you eat with?" And I said, "Well, I ate by myself, because I don't know anyone in the city." Like, "Oh, I could never do that. I can't believe you did that, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Well, why?" And she goes, "Oh, well, I would have thought that, if I saw someone eating by themselves in a restaurant, I would think they're a loser." So I think that, a lot of people can't do, aren't comfortable spending time in public or doing things on their own. So I guess that's an interesting thing about me. I'm comfortable traveling by myself and eating out by myself and doing things on my own.
It's very interesting saying that, and I totally understand your point. I love traveling on my own so many times, even my birthdays. I remember I spent at least three former birthdays, like my being an adult, going to a short trip somewhere, like in Spain or somewhere in Europe. I love it. I really love that. And again, I have friends as well. They go like, "Oh my God, I could never do that."
Yeah.
It's so interesting. And actually, saying that, I'll tell you something interesting. I love going to the cinema on my own. I love it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I can go with friends, of course. I love that as well. But for me, going to the cinema on my own, I just love it. I just sit down there, popcorn, and I just have the moment of my life.
Yeah.
Until one day, fun fact, I remember went to the cinema once, and I finished the gym, was just next door, the cinema. I said, "Oh, I'm gonna watch a movie right now." So I finished my workout. I went to the cinema and I sat down. It was like they were showing like one of the old movies. It was like a celebration of so many years. And I sat down and I started eating popcorn. And I look around. I started realize that was a lot of couples. And I was like, "Oh my God, why there are so many couples here?" Guess what? It was Valentine's night.
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh my God. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, what the people must be thinking of me? Like, what is guy doing here alone?" I'm not joking. There was everyone. I was the only person. I started staring around. When I realized it was Valentine's night, I started staring around and I was the only person alone on the cinema.
Yeah, that would be a little bit uncomfortable if you do it on your own time.
I know. When the movie was finished, I just run away, like straight away, very fast.
But I guarantee you, they were so involved in themselves that they didn't notice that you were there on
Ab-
your own.
Absolutely. But I was like, "Oh my God, I couldn't wait for the movie to finish because I was feeling uncomfortable out there."
No, I
That's
get it.
funny.
I get it.
Are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories in life and share your point of views? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Amazing. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. So I've got him a bunch full of random fun questions, okay? I'm just gonna play a song now just for us to relax a bit before the first question. Okay?
Okay.
Let's do it. All right. So before we start the game, during the join, if it comes up a question that you don't want to talk about, some reason you don't want to answer, always can change, okay?
Okay.
First question for you is: if you could meet yourself when you were 15 years old again, what advice would you give to yourself?
I would say to stop worrying so much about what other people think, and just concentrate on doing what makes you happy, being who you are, and you know, kind of thinking about um, you know what your life is going to look like, stuff like that. I think that at 15, I and probably a lot of people are so worried about, fitting into friend groups and what your friends are going to think and what your family's going to think, and it shuts down a little bit, I think, of your creativity and your goals and things like that. And so, in hindsight, I would tell myself, look, at the end of the day, when you're much older, you're going to realize that what people thought of you back then isn't it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't change anything. And if you worry so much about that, then you're basically going to slow your ability to become who you're meant to be.
And the moment when you take this pressure off your shoulders, oh my God, your life literally changes completely.
Yes, yes, it does.
Tell me how was growing up back in Philadelphia?
I mean, it was good. It was a good place to grow up. I was one of six. I am one of six kids. I was number five, and so I had a big family. And it was just kind of like a nice. The area I grew up was like a nice area to grow up in, and I think at the time, um, it was more carefree, I guess. Like, parents weren't as worried about you playing outside or going to your friends' houses, and you didn't have cell phones, and it was much more relaxed, I think, than it is now. So I had a good childhood. I enjoyed growing up where I grew up. But that being said, I was very excited to leave after I graduated from high school.
Amazing. Okay, next question. Let's do it. All right, Rich. Next question is, tell us about your first kiss and your first love.
My first kiss was at summer camp. Gosh, I must have been in fifth or sixth grade, so I was young. And just there was a girl who, I kind of had a crush on. I think she had a crush on me. And they had this thing called a carnival at the end of summer camp, and they had a marriage booth. And so we went to the marriage booth, and you had to kiss when you said I do. And that was my first kiss. My first love. I don't know. I mean, I definitely had infatuations and crushes and things like that. But I would say that my first love is my husband, who I'm married to, and we've been together for 27 years. So I met him as soon as I moved to LA. And I would say that he was probably the first person I fell in love with.
I was looking some of your pictures on your profile, and I was like, oh my God. And I saw you post this picture 26 years ago, 5 months after you guys met. Oh my God, what a beautiful journey. Wow.
Well,
Saying that, what's the biggest similarity between both of you and the biggest difference?
The biggest difference is that that's I think the easier one. He's an extrovert. He can talk to anyone. He can talk about anything. He can be comfortable in a crowd of people that he doesn't know. I'm much more of an introvert. I'm much quieter. It's a lot of work for me to talk to people I don't know. It's very difficult for me to, kind of go up to people in large groups and introduce myself. So I would say that that's the biggest difference, is that, he's very at ease in meeting new people, and it takes me a little bit more time and more effort. The biggest similarity, I would say, is we were both very career oriented, very um, passionate about what we do or what we did. He's still working. Both very, devoted a lot of time and energy to that. So I would say, we were both very focused on our careers, both very passionate about those.
Amazing. Next question. Let's do it. So before the next question, tell me, what's the best part of being a lawyer? Walk me through your career. What's the biggest joy of it? And the flip side, through your career, what did you find most challenging?
So I'll answer the first part in two different parts. I was a corporate lawyer, so I did deals. I wasn't someone who went to court. I wasn't a litigator. I was someone who did deals and transactions and things like that. And then I also helped out with, or did, employment stuff and things like that. And that, I just think it meshes well with my personality. I'm very organized. I like to, read through all the kind of different possibilities of doing something, talk it through, and logically make decisions. And my career just matched up well with what I feel my strengths and my likes were. That being said, I mean, I think that the thing that I enjoyed most, or that I was most proud of when I was working, wasn't so much about the law, but more about um, putting together a team. At the last two places that I worked, I had come into an organization where the legal team was, um, I wouldn't say broken, but wasn't working to its highest potential, and the members of the team weren't happy. And so the thing that I'm most proud of is that I feel like I'm very good at managing the teams, in terms of making sure both that the company is happy with the work that we're doing, we're more efficient, we are timely, we're better equipped to answer questions, but also that the team is happy. They enjoy coming into work, that they like working with their other lawyers, that they like working with me. Um, so that's what I would say the most rewarding or thing that I'm proud of, in terms of my career, is assembling teams that like what they do, like working with each other, and do a really good job working with the company. In terms of the most challenging, it's kind of the flip side of that. Coming into an organization where you're new and you're faced with a legal team that just is not happy, and trying to figure out what is making these people unhappy. Is it the personalities? Is it the work? Is it the workload? Are they not challenged enough? Are they not getting enough support? That I've always found to be the most challenging and the most difficult thing to do, is when you're coming into a new job, kind of analyzing the team and trying to figure out, what can you do to make the team happier and make the team work.
See, and you always, growing up, you always wanted to be a lawyer. You always knew it.
No, I really had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. I guess, I thought about being a doctor, actually, and my parents really wanted me to be a doctor. And so that was kind of what I was gearing towards. But when I was in high school, my senior year of high school, we had a family friend who was a surgeon. And he said, well, why don't you come in one day and watch me do an operation? This will kind of let you see what being a doctor's like. And so I was super excited about it. And so I went with him to watch what he said was a very simple operation. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like some sort of like a bunion surgery, something like trying to fix a toe. It wasn't anything like open heart surgery or anything like that. So it was very basic. And we walked into the operating room, and the person was lying on the table, and they had already done all the prep work to do that. And I kind of looked at that. I was like, ooh, gosh, I don't like how this looks. I don't know that I'm going to be able to watch this. But I stayed calm. And then my parents' friend said to me, okay, so this is how the operation's going to work. And we're going to saw this bone, blah, 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 blah. And so I thought that he was just, I'm in high school. I thought he was, trying to explain it to me very simply, but that there was a more technical thing that he was doing, rather than sawing this bone. And no, it turns out that he had a saw, and he turns the saw in and puts it into the bone. And once he did that, my eyes rolled back into my head and I passed out. And I woke up, I don't know how long later, but I felt horrible for this woman who was having the surgery, because all of the nurses were dealing with me, who's laying on the floor passed out, as opposed to dealing with the operation. So that was the only time I felt like I thought I knew what I wanted to do, and then once I got in there, I realized that's not what I want to do. So I didn't know after that. I think I just kind of, when I was in university, thought to myself, well, I'm organized, I'm analytical, I like the English language, like playing around with the English language. What careers kind of involve all of that, and law is one of them. So that's how it kind of ended up happening.
Oh my God, I love this story.
I felt horrible for that poor woman. Like if I had gone in for surgery and they were ignoring me because some random high school student was laying on the floor passed out, I would be angry. But
imagine people now watching this interview, they're gonna go like, oh, that's a good idea, I'm gonna find out if my son likes that or not, or my daughter. I love it. Next question for you is, what do you like the most about your best friends?
I think it's a combination of things. I mean, I think that my best friends are interesting people who have had very different life experiences, and so I think they bring that to the friendship. I think that they're very thoughtful. They do think about the friendship, and think about me and vice versa, because I think that ultimately that's what you want in friends is, someone who's going to, um, teach you things that you can learn from, and vice versa, because of the different experiences that you've had, but also is going to be there if something goes wrong, is going to support you, is going to help you, is going to listen to you. And I feel like my friend group, they all do that. They bring the different life experiences to the table, but they're also there to support me, when I need help and things like that.
I see. Okay. Next question. Let's do it, Rich. Next question for you is, what was your worst foot in mouth moment?
It was a foot and mouth moment, but it was done by email as opposed to actual foot and mouth. It was a work related issue where I had been talking with someone in work about how difficult, it was doing this deal with this other person at the company, and that they didn't know what they were doing and they weren't listening, blah, 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 blah. And I was also emailing with that same person about the deal itself, and got the two emails confused, and then sent an email basically saying, you know, that something inappropriate that I should not have sent to this person. And
oh my God.
it's kind of like one of those things where the email goes out and then you realize and you panic, and it's like, how can I send, not, figure out how to get it back, and it's too late. And so that was my probably worst foot in mouth moment, all done by email. But we worked through it. Maybe it was a good thing, to kind of talk through it so that we could be on the same page. I don't think this person particularly liked me after that, but at least our working relationship got a little bit better.
Yeah, those moments, oh my God, it just go like, if you could like turn the 1 second before, a few minutes before, oh my goodness, it would make a difference. But as you said, it just meant to be for some reason.
It's funny that you said that, because one of the things that I always used to tell my team was, when you're responding to emails, always make sure that before you hit send, you've read the email, you haven't said anything inappropriate, that your grammar is correct, blah, 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 that you're sending it to the right person. And so I've been giving that speech to my team for as long as I've been like the head lawyer. And yet here I was, and I didn't follow my own advice at all, and it got me into trouble.
Amazing. Ready for another one?
Sure.
Let's do it. Next question. All right. Before the next question, tell me, for you, growing up, having a family in Philadelphia, in Philly. I love saying Philly. I have so many guests on the show from Philadelphia, and they said, "Oh, I live in Philly." Tell me, which person in your family you are more close to growing up?
So I guess that's shifted over the years with growing. So, like I said, I'm one of six kids.
Mhm.
My I'm number five. My older brothers and sisters, though, were considerably older than me. My parents had them very close together and then waited 7 years and had me and my younger sister. So there's a 7 year gap between me and my next older sister. It's only 18 months between me and my younger sister. So growing up, my younger sister and I were very, very close. Like we went to the same school together. We were in the house at the same time where most of my brothers and sisters had already graduated from college or gone to college, and so we're out of the house. So we were very, very close growing up. But then once we moved out of the house, um, for whatever reason, I became much closer to my sister, who was older than me, and not as close not as close with my younger sister anymore. So I'm closest with, I think, my two of my older sisters.
I see. And for you, being gay, it was something difficult for you in during your childhood or growing up, or your family they kind of support you and they kind of realize that you're gay.
Um, it's an interesting question. Um, I wasn't I didn't know I was gay, I think, growing up. So I never really dealt with it with my family or had to deal with it. I didn't come out until later, until my early to mid 20s. Um, and by that time, my parents had passed away. And I came out to my brothers and sisters, and um, they all were very supportive. Um, and completely fine with it. I mean, I may have had one sister who said all the right things. It's, oh, of course we love you and all that. And but she actually had a harder time adjusting to it. So she said all the right things, but you could tell for a little while afterwards that she was struggling. And she eventually came around, and now they're completely fine. And they all know Mike, my husband, and I think they like him maybe more than they like me.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, they were completely fine and supportive and great.
I see. All
I was,
right.
I was very lucky.
Next question is, are you a cat or a dog person? And if you could be an animal, which one that would be and why?
I'm definitely a dog person. We have a dog whom I love to death. He's just the greatest. I like dogs better just because I feel that they're more, and it's weird to say this because if it was a person, it would drive me crazy. But in a pet, I like it that they're needy, that they want to be around you, that they follow you everywhere. Cats don't really do that. They're more independent. So I'm definitely a dog person. And if I was going to be an animal, what would I be? Um, I think I'd probably want to be an elephant, just because I feel like, they like humans, they've got family groups, they, have relationships, but they also kind of are like, excuse my language, they're bad. They're they walk through Asia and Africa, and they kind of like, this is our territory. We don't stand for others coming into it. We're strong. I like that. So yeah, I think I'd be an elephant.
Amazing. Three questions left for you, Rich. Let's do it. Before the next question, 20, over 26 years of a beautiful relationship in the gay scene is like,
He's actually
there
in
we
the
go.
background. You can see him.
Yeah, yes, I can talk about him. There he is. 26 years, in a relationship, yeah, and in the gay scene, this is like wow, maintain a long relationship. Simple question: what's the secret? What is?
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's a simple question.
what is the secret, or what is I'm sure it's up and downs, it's a maintenance every single day. I'm sure about that, but you know living it for you to be in a relationship, beautiful that long. Tell me, tell me the secret, or what is about.
I think it's a combination of luck and work. It's a lot of work. You know, you have to make sure that you communicate with one another, that you're, when things aren't going well, that you talk it through, that you don't let things fester, you know, that you um, basically are, you know, committed to the relationship, and that you're willing to put in the work to make sure that the relationship succeeds. And I think it's also a little bit of luck. I mean, you know, people change as they get older, and there's a likelihood that as they change, they may grow apart, they may have different interests, things like that. And I think that we've been incredibly lucky in that as we've gotten older and as we've changed, we've kind of changed together, and you know, adapted to how each other has changed. So yeah, I think it's a combination of luck and work. I don't have any, you know, profound statements or theories about why it's worked for us. I think we, you know, luck and work.
Oh no, everyone watching the interview was ready with a paper to write down everything you didn't give us. Tell me, how did your path crossed?
So I had just moved to Los Angeles. I was in the process of trying to figure out coming out and things like that. And I was working at a law firm and didn't know many gay people in LA. There was one or two who worked at the same law firm I did. One of them had invited me to a fundraiser for a political campaign. And so, and I was casually dating someone at the time. And so I went to this fundraiser with this guy I was casually dating. And Mike, my future husband, was invited as well. And we ended up sitting next to each other and chatting. And, you know, I really enjoyed talking to him. I thought he was a handsome guy. But nothing came from it because I was dating someone at the time. And then I kind of realized that there wasn't going to be a relationship with the guy that I was dating. And so mentioned to the guy who invited me to the event that, oh yeah, I'd stopped seeing the person. And so he's like, well, would you be interested in seeing Mike, you know, from the thing? And I said, yeah, I'd be interested in seeing him. And so we went on a few what were supposed to be dates, but they ended up not being dates because random people came along. And then we finally went on our first date. We kind of both knew, I think, at the end of that date that, yeah, that we were going to be together. So
Beautiful, beautiful. Next question is, where are you planning to go for your next vacation?
I actually have a bunch lined up. I'm headed to Malawi on Wednesday for a safari. And then when I come back from that, we're going to Lisbon to see Madonna, which I'm pretty excited about with friends. And then our big vacation is over Christmas and New Year's. We're going to Buenos Aires for Christmas, and then we're going to Brazil for New Year's.
Oh my God, where's about in Brazil? Rio?
We're going to be in Búzios for a week, and then from there to Rio for New Year's.
Have you been in Rio de Janeiro before?
I've been, yeah, a bunch of times. It's one of my favorite places to go. We've been all over. We've been in the north to Recife and Olinda and Salvador. We've been to Brasilia. We've been to Florianopolis. It's just such a wonderful place to visit.
I'm from Mato Grosso.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, close to Brasilia.
I haven't been there.
Next time you go to Brazil, to the north, try to go to Pantanal. Pantanal, it's a beautiful place, you know, around there. It's around Brazil, if I'm not wrong, another country as well. So yeah, it's you know, Brazil, how big each state you go, you feel in a different country. So it's a good place. Yeah.
Okay, we'll definitely add it to my list.
2 questions left. Let's
do
it. Talking about traveling, tell me, my God, I'm sure you've been, you know, all over the place, everywhere, you know, but tell me a moment in those trips that you're never going to forget for any reason, you know, something special that happened, something that's always going to have a special place in your heart.
I'm trying to think. I mean, there's been so many great experiences that I've had. It's hard to narrow it down to just one. And I'm trying to think of just one.
Maybe one of the latest, maybe, or one of the very latest that.
Okay, this was pretty special. We went for Christmas last year. We went to Oman, and we camped out in the middle of the empty quarter, the desert, and it was getting there was pretty special. So it was four of us, me and my husband, and then another couple, and we basically rode a camel caravan to the middle of nowhere in the desert where they had these tents set up, and then we got off camels and watched the sun set, and it was just really an amazing experience because it's you see pictures of that, but to actually experience it and to look around, and as far as the eye can see, all you see is sand. You don't see any people, you don't see any buildings. It was just really neat, and so I would say that at least recently that's one of the coolest experiences that I've had traveling.
Right. Next question is, what do you consider most romantic?
So I would say it's not like big things. It's the most romantic things are little things, like if you know that the other person is having a bad day, or um, it needs some help or something, and just sending a text, or saying, "Hey, I'm just thinking about you, hoping that your day has gotten better, or that you're able to," like that to me is very romantic, and what is you know affects me the most, rather than big gestures like, a moonlight dinner, or a sunset, whatever it is, or roses, or it's just those little things throughout the course of a relationship, or throughout the course of uh, a marriage, or whatever. Those are the things that I think are romantic. That they're thinking of you, and that they're doing what's best for you.
Amazing. Ready for the last one?
Okay.
Last question, Rich. Let's do it. But before the last question, as you've been involved in teaching now as well, yeah, people watch the interview. They'd like to start a career in law, to become a lawyer. What would be your best piece of advice for those people?
I guess it's the same advice I'd have for anyone in any type of career, is like, try and know yourself and figure out, is this something that I'm going to want to do for an extended period of time? Does it match with my skill set? Does it match with what I enjoy doing? Because there are a lot of people, I think, that think about going into a career in law, or a career in medicine, or in finance, or whatever, and it's because their parents want them to do it. And I could give advice like, okay, this is how you get into the career, and this is where blah blah blah. But I think the more important advice is kind of try and know yourself well enough to know that this pressure that you're feeling from your parents or from someone else to do something, is it ultimately going to make you happy? Is your personality suited for a career in law or a career in finance? Is it not? And if it's not, maybe you should focus on doing something else. So that's, I guess, what my advice would be, is get to know yourself and get to know what it is that makes you happy, and will keep you content.
I see. You know what? You're saying about the experience you had, the surgery that you had. There is anything, for example, relate to law that maybe someone could, have an experience in law to find out if they would like to follow this career or not, there's something that maybe you could share?
I think that there are. Definitely, if you're going into it thinking that you're going to be a litigator, you could go into a trial and sit there and watch it and say, yeah, this is boring to me, or I couldn't stand up and make a case to the jury. Like, I think that, just like me seeing someone being operated on, someone going into a courtroom and watching someone conduct a trial, could come to the conclusion that, yeah, this is just not for me. So I think there are things.
I see. Okay. Last question is, do you consider yourself to be a spiritual person, and how?
Not, it's funny. I think that certainly my sisters are. I'm not so much. I'm much more a fact, rational thought kind of person. I don't, um, spirituality has not really been as big a part in my life, I think, as it certainly has with my sisters. I don't know why that is. I mean, we have the same parents, we were raised in the same household, same religion, all that sort of stuff. But spirituality, I think, speaks more to them than it has to me.
I see. Okay. It's not the end yet. Let's play now the word association game. Okay, I'm going to give away some words. Just tell one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking.
Okay.
Let's start with money.
Power.
Family.
Love.
One word for life.
Challenging.
Sex.
Pleasurable.
One word for love.
Love. Important.
Religion.
Oof. I think this is one we're going to have to strike. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. One word for politics.
Divisive.
Fear.
Fear. Fear is unknown.
Friendship.
Nourishing.
Desire.
Lust.
One word for regret.
Sad.
Success.
Happiness.
Wish.
Wish. Dreams.
One word for happiness.
Satisfaction.
One word for feeling.
Feeling. Emotions.
One word for LA.
LA. Beautiful.
One word for USA.
Difficult.
And the last one now, a lawyer. One word.
Lawyer. Advocate.
Okay. Let's pretend now I'm going to go all the way to Los Angeles to meet your husband for a coffee. And I'm going to ask him, what is the most beautiful thing about you? And what's something that still need to work on to improve on, Rich? What he would say about yourself?
The thing that I most need to work on is being able to say wrong about stuff. He will say that I can't admit when I'm wrong. I think in terms of what he would say about the best thing is that I'm caring and thoughtful, that I'm thinking of, I think of him and think of others.
I see. Okay. Let's play now, Rich, and the magic box, and you can ask me a question. Okay, you can ask me a question now.
Okay. Are you an extrovert?
Oh my God. I'll tell you something now, Rich. I just a few days ago, I reached 1,000 interviews on the show so far, and nobody asked me this question. Wow, what a powerful question. Right. Oh my God, you put me in the spot. You know what? I consider myself to be an introvert. Yeah. I will explain to you. People, when I tell people that I'm shy, people, they go like, I would love to be shy like you. Their friends, they say that because it's a misunderstanding. For example, if someone start talking to me, if I connect with people, there you go. I can connect, I can talk, I can be myself. But for me to get to this point, it's a long journey for myself. I literally sometimes I feel like I have a shelf. I literally feel like I have a shelf. Sometimes it's difficult for me to get out of it. And doing the show is something for me that, for example, here, what I'm doing right now, it's something that I think it helps me to be more extrovert. Yeah. And I'm very communicative. I'm easy talking to people. I'm easy to connect with people, but I define myself an introvert for sure. You know, I think growing up I was even more, yeah. But I think the older you get, you know, live in London as well, in a big city where you meet so many people around the world, you get yourself involved in so many different cultures as well. I think all of that helps you to kind of somehow explore areas that you're not comfortable with or you've never been you know, involved before. But yeah, personality way, I consider myself an introvert for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily surprised, just because everything that I've read is that the most successful people tend to be introverts who force themselves to be extroverts when they have to be. So, given that you talk to so many people throughout the course of the week, um, it doesn't surprise me that you feel that it's an effort, but that you need to um, relax or recover from, but that you're able to do it. So that makes sense.
Wow. You know what? So I remember growing up, my mom, she used to tell me, oh my God, you feel like you are in a box. You cannot like get out of this box. Just get out, go out there, talk to people. I remember that. She was literally picking on me sometimes because I could see my friends ask me, oh, let's go do something. Let's, you know, play around something. And I was feeling so like, I don't know, I couldn't get out there. For me, it was so difficult for me to join them, you know, because for me, I felt they were so, you know, over the place. They know what to do, and I didn't know how to express myself at the time. And I remember her making some jokes sometimes and just pushing me to out of my shell. So yeah, for sure. Did you enjoy the interview?
I did very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for taking the time for the interview. I know you're very busy and you took the time for the interview today. But Rich, before you go, if you can share a positive message or anything that you live by.
Positive message to live by. I mean, I'll direct it towards this and us talking. I mean, I think that um, given everything that's going on in the world, it's very easy to kind of wall yourself off and not talk to other people and not listen to how they're similar to you and hear how they're different and how cultures are different and things like this. And what you're doing in terms of talking to people all over the world and kind of asking them similar questions. And I think that it's, for someone like me kind of watching it, I think that it's a great thing because it shows, no matter where you're from or no matter what culture you're from or ethnicity or whatever, that you have similarities that kind of bind you together as humans. And and yes, there are differences, but they're not so fundamental as that they can't be bridged. So just kind of seeing you talking to all these people around the world, and seeing the similarities in that, I think that that's a great thing. And I just wish that more people were open to talking to people from different cultures, talking to people of different ethnicities, different religions, different backgrounds, because I think that that kind of a dialogue and expression, can solve a lot of problems before they start. So,
Oh my God, what a compliment! Someone like you saying something like that. Oh my God, it's interesting saying that, Rich, because somebody I've been asked on the show I've learned through this journey so far, and actually, you said something that I've learned. How we are so similar. We have so much in common. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter how you've been brought up, your background. But in the end of the day, we are in the same boat. So we have a lot of similarity, you know what I mean, to share with people. And I think that at the same time, it can be very different, but at the end of the day, there is a big similarity between all of us. I think that's very interesting, what I've learned so far during the show. So, yeah. Thank you so much. Regards to Mike. Can you keep in touch? It was a pleasure, okay?
thank you. It was a pleasure as well. I appreciate
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, to share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why you'd like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye-bye. See you next time.